I'm streaming it, so.
Yeah.
What do you mean by stream, setting up the shot?
Don't you start with me?
Not always.
So you're going to start with you and me?
I have to let you in before, I can't pin you or anything until everyone's in.
Okay, here we go. I'll do the talking.
Hi, everybody.
Buddy,
Hey,
Hello.
what a pleasure to see all these faces on a Friday.
Hi.
what does this mean?
What does what mean?
This.
What is this?
That's
Is that you?
Frank.
Oh, Frank, can you get in the shot, please?
Do it in a minute. Just get rid of this, please.
No, I'd like to keep it.
Let's hope Frank isn't laying on the floor face up.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I have oh shit. That's weird. It's connected to my phone's camera. Hold on a second. I have to disconnect that. Give me 1 minute.
Did you stream already?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Here he is.
Live on Twitter, I can confirm.
Thank you. We are streaming. We started the stream before we picked you all up. Anyone else confirm? Let's see. Facebook.
I can confirm that I'm here.
You're. Thank you, Dennis. I'm checking.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yes, on Facebook, Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter.
No, you mean X?
Yeah, X.
I'm not going to
All
get.
right. So everybody quiet, please. Tina, can you do the mute us off, please?
Mhm.
Yeah. Steve, you got that Irwin Corey vibe happening.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Just kidding. Stop it.
Okay, mute is off. And we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor gang.
are you
Joining
sure?
us from, yeah,
Yeah.
joining us from the great state of Georgia.
Ooh.
And it's unlikely, by the way, according to Bill Barr, to actually have any impact on Trump's legal shipping address. Is what's that guy's name? Brent Leary.
That had to be like the longest intro that most of it didn't have anything to do with me, but hey, I'm here. Good to see y'all.
Nice picture. Nice picture.
Yeah. Hey, did you give away that camera?
I want to know what camera that is, Brent.
This is the Panasonic Lumix S5 II X.
Is that the one you're using right now? Or
Yeah.
is that? Yeah, no, that's a really?
Yeah.
And are you using a LUT or is that in a natural picture?
Joining us from Palo Alto, California, is Keith Tier.
So much for the tech talk.
I'm joining you on a Sony FX3 with a Samyang autofocus video lens.
Okay, now put up his name on the.
All right. Hi, Keith.
Hey, nice to see you.
Do we have a lower third?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. From the framework of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriant.
Greetings and salutations from an area that just got missed or just missed getting a tornado this morning.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, serious stuff. But all's well.
All right.
From the Seattle of Washington is Michael Markman.
How do you do? I'm speaking to you through a built-in webcam of a MacBook.
Really?
Yeah.
As am I.
You just don't have enough ego, Mike, and arrogance. You need more ego and arrogance.
Yeah, I guess I do.
From the Duchy of Grand Fenwick, next door to England is Frank Radis.
Greetings and felicitations. I am speaking to you from a MacBook Pro. Camera built in, audio from the microphone on my cheap gamer headset.
All right.
And last but certainly not least is our director and producer, Tina Chase Gillmor.
Hey, hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm coming to you on a MacBook Air.
Thanks for the clap.
M1 MacBook Air.
I
Yeah,
think
that
we should all acknowledge that behind Steve's shoulder is evidence that he successfully figured out picture-in-picture on YouTube TV.
yeah.
And he helped me do it
That's
too.
Correct. There is no picture-in-picture, but there is
Multiple. Yeah.
and figuring it out involves scrolling down, which I've mastered.
Pretty good job, Steve.
Yeah, I've done.
But
great.
it is a cool gimmick.
It's completely transformative. It's going to
Yeah.
take all the progressives. They're all going to have to go to the back of the line now.
Oh, it's like being in a control room. It's like being in a big hand.
I'm-
Close.
Well,
Do you
Thank
want
you.
the stanza all of a sudden?
Firesign quote,
Frank,
but-
do you have hand?
It's the command center. Gillmor Group command center.
That was close, Steve, but no cigar.
That's correct. He fell right over.
Oh,
Steve's mission-
forming a bridge, and under a bridge there came a catfish. Anyway,
He does have the Cuba picture on his wall on the other shoulder as well.
So speaking of the Firesign Theater, Tina and I, and I'm sure everybody who's interacted with them are saddened to hear of Phil Proctor's wife's death. And we wish him all the best in figuring out how to live without his beloved.
sad.
Yeah.
Very.
And
I had another very sad thing happen to a friend of mine this week. He lives in Maui, and he's the guy who did the lips with the tongue painting for the Rolling Stones, and he had his name is Ruby Mazer, and he had just literally the day before the fire finished building his new gallery, and he put his lifetime of work in the gallery. And then the next day it all burned down. And I mean, he lost everything. And he was going to stay, and he was, obviously we feel our hearts have to go out to all the people who have already passed and the people that haven't even been discovered yet. But he left the island, left his dog on the island with some people. So, I mean, just thinking of what's going on there is it's just horrible.
And Frank, in these times where, such a disaster hits, and you said he lost everything, but he didn't lose his life.
Well, that's exactly right.
That, that's everything. That in the end, that's everything. But it's incredibly sad. What's happened in Maui. My aunt has lived there for 25 years, I think. She's just crying every day. She lived up country, and so she wasn't affected by this, except for the fact that she knows so many people in that area and loves the island, and it's just
The dimensions of loss and grief in Lahaina and all of Maui are just unfathomable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, people, pets, animals, property, businesses, everyone who has survived but lost things that they treasured. It's just unfathomable to me to just wrap my head around how much grief is involved in the aftermath of that fire.
I have a
For, we're going to make this a short show. Dennis has a hard stop in like 20 minutes or less. So Dennis, you want to start it off?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say really, other than happy Rico.
Oh, Rico Suave.
You know, a couple of years ago, I wrote a piece about how Trump was doing Rico-like things, and you know, it's yeah, I'm not an attorney, but it's nice to see it come around. It's interesting that, as Steve alluded to at the intro, that Bill Barr doesn't think much of the case. It's too sprawling, but you know, Bill Barr sounds like a guy who's too lazy to think about all the moving parts.
Yeah, I don't think Bill Barr is lazy at all. I think he's incredibly astute. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, he was very smart, and I think his analysis of the situation with Trump is devastatingly accurate.
I thought I read something that was almost the opposite of what you guys are talking about. I thought Bill Barr had recently said that there's no way he doesn't go down for something in these sweeping.
That's what we're referring to. I posted in Substack chat, which I have been unable to actually describe as a URL to my failure. But he was on Fox News with Neil Caputo. Is that his name? Because of this thing behind me now, the upper left-hand corner of that is Fox News. So I was watching it, and they had Michael Cohen, who I'm not the biggest fan of, on Deadline Washington or whatever it's called.
Deadline White House.
Right.
Yeah. You mean
and they had Bill Barr on Fox News. So I switched to Bill Barr, and like I said, I put it in the chat so you can make up your own mind about it. But I think his analysis of the situation is dead on.
I think so. From what I read, and I must have read your thing in the subs. I agree 100% with that. Not
Yeah,
that I know.
We should add that Bill Barr has not ruled out voting for Trump if he is.
Actually, that's not true. He hasn't ruled it in. He said that he'll jump off that bridge when he comes to it, was his quote about that.
Yeah,
that means he hasn't ruled it out.
Yeah,
yes.
That means he hasn't ruled it out.
No,
it's just
I
ludicrous.
don't agree. I think he's ruled out facts that are not yet in evidence. That's what he said. He's, unfortunately, he's an extremely accurate public speaker, and he doesn't say what he doesn't mean.
Yeah,
saying what he means and saying what's right.
Does he not have enough information now to decide that Trump is not qualified to serve again?
Couldn't he have done this 2 years ago?
Does he not have enough information to say, I will never vote for this man, knowing what I know now? Of course he has that information.
Well,
but he politically will not do that.
Oh,
he did not say he will not vote for Trump.
Let's agree to disagree, okay? Look at the videotape. If you're watching online, look at the videotape, and you decide whether or not what Michael Markman just said is accurate or not.
I'm kind of, Michael, okay with party loyalty, even when I hate the party in question, because I think there is a redeeming side to being loyal to something bigger than yourself, even when you don't like the direction it's going in. Like I support Manchester United, and they haven't won anything significant for 7 years, but I'm still a supporter. So I'm not really down on Republicans that don't call it yet, because that is kind of what they should do if they're loyal. I think
what about loyalty to the nation?
Exactly.
The consequences of loyalty to a football club and the consequences of loyalty to a fascist party are entirely different realms.
No, but it's not a fascist party.
Well, regardless of that, I'm not.
Wax.
It is,
Walks like a duck.
it is in fact a party which welcomes fascists and refuses to distance themselves.
That's a bit different. Fascists have integrated into the British Labour Party, but the Labour Party isn't fascist.
Well, my point would be simply the information is valuable. And in the case of the upcoming presidential campaign, I think that Bill Barr's comments yesterday or whenever that event was are more significant than any of the other candidates in the race.
Now, George Conway had an interesting take on Barr's refusal to rule Trump out. He said that helps because no one can make the case that Barr is saying this because he's anti-Trump. So those people who say they won't rule out voting for Trump are, in his point of view, actually reinforcing their legal position.
Well, I think that's an interesting point. However, I don't think George Conway's impact on the presidential race is significant in any way. The never-Trumpers never seem to get their ineffectiveness.
So what do we think is going to happen? I mean, I think it's very clear that Trump is going to be found guilty on many
things.
Certainly something, but probably more than one thing. I probably would say it's also certain he's going to be the Republican candidate in the next election. And I think I would also say it's certain he's going to lose that election. Therefore, he's going to end up in jail.
I think one of the more interesting things that Barr said was that he didn't think that Trump was going to be the candidate.
Well,
I
a bunch of people have said that, I think, and I don't buy that yet. I'll tell you something. I think that it's interesting. Trump's play on the debate by going to Tucker Carlson to do an online interview.
Gee, that's the show I won't be watching.
Well, that's the point. I think, and it's weird, and it just.
What's the point? What's the point?
No,
he's trying to
saying he doesn't need to debate them because they're all losers.
Yes, and he's doing Tucker Carlson as a way to get back at Fox, who he's been complaining about but using the big orange face photograph, which he's complained about, and because he can't get on Fox as much as he used to be able to. Although he did an interview with Larry Kudlow the other day, but
preempted on Fox News by Bill Barr.
Only Fox Business News ran that. I don't know what that. Does anyone know what he said about dishwashers? I'm kind of confused about that. Anyway, it's an interesting play, and I don't know how it helps him but it doesn't hurt him. I think a lot of what he's doing simply doesn't hurt him. Look at the idea that he was going to have this grand press conference on Monday and then pulled out for, ostensibly because he says his lawyers told him that they needed to turn that into some kind of a formal presentation for his defense, but probably really it would have just backfired and made it something that the prosecution would have used against him.
Okay, so like I said, we have a limited time today. So how many people think that Trump will not be the candidate, the Republican candidate? Raise your hand. Really? Why is that, Dennis?
I think this is a game of chicken between the party and Trump, and I think as time goes on, things get worse and worse for Trump. He's got a year to begin some trials, and I think there's going to be so much negative news coming out that the people who are on the ticket with him will, like John Barrasso of Montana, make the argument that when Trump runs, we lose. That's a direct quote. So I think Trump will look good through the primaries. The trials start in January, possibly, and I think by June or July, maybe before the convention, there's going to be a lot of nervous Republicans.
Do you think any states will opt to have his name taken off the ballot?
If they're blue. If
Look,
they're, I think there's a legitimate case for the Blues, for anybody to say he's not eligible to run, therefore we're not going to put him on the ticket. I wrote a piece about that. And I think blue states are the most likely to challenge that.
So what would you give as a percentage chance of that happening?
At least, well, all right, let's say a percentage chance of at least one state doing it.
Yes.
Okay, I think somebody like Rhode Island will do it.
So here's my question.
Well, I want to hear a percentage first. And
Okay.
then,
First, I think it's about 2/3.
so 77% chance that
Yeah.
Rhode Island or some other state will not have him on the ballot. Okay,
67.
go ahead, Michael.
So I have two questions. One is about keeping Trump off the ballot in blue states, and the question is, so what? He's not going to win the blue states if he's on the ballot. What difference will it make? My second question is, I agree with Keith and Bill Barr, and I guess by implication Steve, that Trump will be found guilty of something. My question is, when? When
Yeah,
will-
timing is the other issue.
Bill Barr did not say that he would be found guilty. He said that it's going to be difficult, I'm paraphrasing, for a DA to screw that up in at least the two federal cases.
I would draw a line between the opinion polls that came out on Monday, which showed that only 15% are solidly on the facts, which means that a jury of 12, you can expect 1.5 people, to be on his side. I don't know if 1.5 people is enough to prevent him being prosecuted, but because I don't know if it's majority or unanimous juries, but certainly 15%, is the smallest number I've seen so far. And about 33% would vote for him in an election anyway. So I think everything is swinging against him, but he might not get prosecuted. If one juror is enough, he might not get prosecuted.
Well, no, he will get prosecuted. He will.
He might not get convicted.
He might not be convicted. So it takes a unanimous jury to convict, and if any jury withholds the vote, then he's not convicted, but he's not exonerated either.
Well, it's a hung jury, right?
Hung jury, and the government can try him again with another jury.
I'm sure they will.
Whose poll came out? I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday that showed that there was a majority. It was something like 64% people of Americans either would not vote for him or were leaning towards not voting for him. Was that a Washington Post poll, I think?
There was a lot of polls on Monday. They were all on Morning Joe, but I can't remember who the authors were.
Yeah, the consensus is of 60%, either strongly leaning, or leaning toward, or outright will not vote for him. What was it?
Well, either
said.
would not vote for him or were leaning towards not voting for him.
Right.
It was
That
64%.
That gets to the whole point of a lot of nervous Republicans a year from now.
Yeah.
But if you're a Republican strategist, okay, let me ask some questions. Do you think you've already written the next election off anyway? That's the first question. If so, is there a viable candidate that you'd put in instead of Trump who would lose? Would you want someone else to lose?
That's a good question.
Would you look forward to 2028 and try to maneuver Trump out of the picture between now and then and just ride off 2024?
Well, that's a delicate balancing act, because you can't simply write off 24 without saying, well, we're not really a political party anymore.
Well, I don't think you'd ever admit you were writing it off, but in terms of practical steps, let's say your chosen representative was DeSantis, for the sake of argument, and for sure whoever the candidate
Better
is,
hurry up with that argument.
yeah, but for sure whoever you put up is going to lose. Would you want your 2028 candidate to lose in 24? Or would you rather Trump lost?
I I think
Well,
that's way too complicated.
the calculus also has to include the Senate, the House, and whatever governorships and legislatures, state legislatures are up. So it's a complicated equation.
I have a question. If you don't mind, Steve, who do we think is actually going to come out best in the debate without Trump in it? Does anybody have any thoughts about what that might be like? I've been trying to think about it, and I honestly,
Can you define best? Can you define
Vivek,
best?
well,
Vivek,
I think
In terms of impact, I think Chris Christie will come out strong.
yeah, but I think so too. But I wondered, I was thinking about this. I wonder if Chris Christie's, going to go in whole hog anti-Trump and just give everybody, here's why you don't want
He's
Trump.
already whole hog.
Yeah, I know that, but it is, if he does that only in the debate, could that not hurt him? I think it could. And
Nobody's taking him seriously as a candidate. They're taking what he says about Trump seriously.
have any of you
That's why I
seen?
say impact. It's impact.
Dennis,
The
what?
thing you got to think about is what is the risk Trump is taking not being there to defend himself?
Well, he's going to be called a coward. He's going to be called a loser, a scaredy cat, a person who can't stand up for himself. He doesn't like that.
Sticks and stones.
Whatever. There's some other words.
Well, the thing you got to keep in mind, the
I
thing you
think
got to
the
keep in mind is that in 2016, Trump won the plurality of a lot of primaries. He didn't outright win. There were so many people in the primaries that Trump was able to pick them apart one by one. And he did a lot of that at the debates. And so he's not at the debate to denigrate people. That's a risk.
I think the opposite. I think that by not being in the debates, he's rendering everyone irrelevant. And that's his gamble. He thinks he's rendering everyone irrelevant, and he ends up looking strong, not weak.
Brent,
We'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
His big advantage is that many states are winner take all. The delegates aren't proportioned according to the vote. So with a plurality, he can win all the delegates.
That's what he did in 2016.
I wanted to ask you guys if you followed this guy, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's the kind of techie CEO, now Republican candidate, who's now got about 12%.
Only for the Eminem rap skills. That's the only reason I follow that guy.
Well, obviously, DeSantis's people take him very seriously because of that leaked memo.
They should, because he's going to pass DeSantis and permanently damage him.
how old is he?
But on his own,
27.
by carrying water for Trump, I think he's going to damage any chance he has of being a force in the Republican Party.
Did you say farce or?
He was born in 1985. He was born in 1985.
That was a good year.
And it's
Yeah.
Ramaswamy, not
That was-
Ramaswamy.
That was around the world in a day for Prince. That was the 1980s.
Except for Prince, it was the decade that taste forgot.
Ouch.
Ooh,
That's kind of harsh.
You know,
fighting words.
I saw an ad today for the governor of North Dakota. I don't remember his name.
Asa Hutchinson. Oh, North Dakota.
North Dakota, yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
All I could think of was Anchorman, Ron Burgundy. This guy looks like a candidate from Central Casting. Totally robotic.
You only have a couple of minutes here, Dennis. So I want to just bring up something that Michael brought up in the infamous chat, which was a screenshot of what's the guy's name? Elon Musk deciding to why you posted it. What does it say?
Oh, he said he was planning to remove block as a feature. I don't know if
except for DMs.
Except for DMs, yes.
Okay, so Dennis, any thoughts on since you're such a big X fan, any thoughts about what the impact would be on anything? And then Michael.
Honestly, I don't. Elon is dead to me. I think what he's doing is basically making himself more and more irrelevant. Good luck.
Yeah, he won't even fight Zuckerberg. God, pisses me off.
What a shock! What a
So
shock!
Michael, what is your suggestion that is meaningful?
Well, first of all, I don't know if it means he's actually going to do it. He likes to float these trial balloons. Some of them he executes. Some of them he forgets about.
I agreed. Okay, what else?
If he does it, I think it's going to hasten the exit of many users. But
Has anybody on this
I had a poll.
has anybody on this call ever blocked anybody on Twitter?
Yes.
Oh,
I have.
Okay, so would you be upset if that was no longer possible?
I would. It would make.
Nah.
I heard. I'm asking Frank now.
Nah, probably not. I haven't blocked enough people, and there's other ways to, just to unfriend somebody. And
I'd ask the opposite question. Has anyone here been blocked by someone they wish they weren't blocked by?
That's not the question to ask.
Well, I mean,
I've blocked the entire social media world. I'm connected to nothing, and it's wonderful.
so you're good with that.
I'm trying to spark an analog renaissance, and with that, I have to go.
So
All right.
basically,
Wait a mic drop.
Basically, what you're saying is that you're in favor of dismantling Twitter feature by feature.
that's already happening.
Root, branch, and stem is fine with me.
My
Bell, book, and
follow-up-
candle.
my
Hey, but
follow-up question to that is
See you
Bye,
next
Dennis.
time.
Thank you.
see,
Bye-bye.
my follow-up
I'll
question to all
chime
this
in.
Twitter stuff is, do you have to care enough to even think about these questions?
Well,
I
I
don't
didn't
care
post
about-
this.
I don't
And
even care
Michael,
about Twitter or X or whatever they call it anymore. It's
Well, I
it's
do. I
pretty
like it.
irrelevant.
I still think it's it's a good feature.
Good feature.
But
Nothing
I
that's
don't like
happened-
being blocked, and I've been blocked recently, and it's very upsetting.
Who blocked you?
Mark Andreessen blocks me, which pisses me off. I have no idea why.
Okay, but why are you
That's
guys
pretty-
mad at
that's-
them for blocking you? Why do you
That's
care
pretty
that much?
cool, Keith. That's a cool thing, Keith. So
No, but why is it cool? Why do you guys care if somebody blocks you?
I don't care.
Yeah, but they do. I'm really curious about that. Why do you care?
I think it's basically goes back to
It hurts my feelings. It's
Yeah.
not a technical thing.
Really?
I don't need to get a vaccine for it.
Well, you
it goes back to caveman days when everyone turned their back on you. It's kind of
You
upsetting.
get conked on the head.
It's the desire for
Not
attention.
that irritating or that upsetting that you have to like take action against me. I mean, it hurts a little bit.
No, I would never. Take
Here's where I find it hurts. If I'm blocked by someone that I'm interested in, it means I don't see what they're saying anymore. So it's not. I don't mind that I can't talk to them. I mind that I can't read them.
I must say, I mean, just truthfully, nothing that's happened on X has led me to use it less. I still use it the same every day. I'd have to be
Me too.
motivated by some emotion to stop using it, and I don't have that emotion, so I just measure it based on, am I getting anything out of it? And I still think I'm getting the same out of it I always got out of it.
So
I agree with that.
There's two sides to using it. One is following people, and the other is broadcasting. Are both those actions the same, or have you stopped talking more? Have you stopped following people more, or is it all totally unchanged?
I'm following people less, and I'm actually posting less. And I'm honestly, I don't know why that's the case. I have actually found myself sort of sliding back to Facebook. Ridiculous, right? more than Twitter, although I still post on Twitter and I still read a lot of stuff on Twitter, and I take all of the notifications, and when there's one that's particularly worth looking at, I look at it. I hardly ever use Threads. It's just not relevant to me. I do use LinkedIn more now than before. It's not like I'm trying to get any work or anything like that, but I find more interesting stuff on LinkedIn and on Facebook than I do on Twitter. And maybe it's a function of the people that I'm following. And I use Substack a lot. So there you go. And I would also, from a social media perspective, I actually do find myself using Instagram way more than I used to.
Tina,
And maybe that's because of photographs.
Tina, what were you going to say?
Well, a few things. One is, under the Twitter banner, tweeting was a verb, right? So now with X, you're not Xing or something. We have to change all the vernacular again. I guess it's just called posting, but that kind of makes it, I don't know, similar to everybody else. I kind of liked tweet and tweeting, and I don't really like the name X. It just doesn't feel right to me, on X today, or I read on X. It feels odd to say it. So I don't feel comfortable with the name. It's not I don't know, it's just not sitting right with me. I kind of don't like the whole black X thing. I don't know. It feels a little.
You know what? I don't disagree with that. I think that there's something to be said about how the huge branding mistake that was done because of one individual wanting to do it, as opposed to testing it, maybe, or focus grouping it. I don't even know if that was even done. But it just, I don't find myself dragging to it because of the name, but I also don't find myself, pulling away from it because of the name. Although I agree, the brand Twitter it's going to go down like Kleenex.
I'm not sure that there was anything wrong with the name.
No, you don't know what I'm doing. I mean, Kleenex as the word
Now I get
Kleenex or Xerox. It's
Yeah, Hoover.
Hoover.
I think
Well,
you should
that means
call it-
something entirely different over here, by the way.
Oh,
You
okay,
should-
let's not go there. I can only imagine.
You should have called it Malcolm.
Another comedy alert.
Ah,
So one of the reasons that he gave for changing the name is his plan to develop some finance attributes and features.
Yeah.
How many of you will use that thing for transactions?
Not in a million years. Not even if you paid me to use it, I wouldn't use it.
You just don't, you don't
Is he
know yet
planning
until
to
you
pay
see
you
it.
to do it?
You don't know until, I think you have to see the features, Frank. I mean,
Look, look at
if
Revolut. Revolut was the one everybody was talking about. Everybody was saying this is the way to go. And all
I don't
my
even know what that is.
Revolut's fantastic.
What is Revolut?
I have it, but it's creating all sorts of headaches for people. I don't know if you watched
What is it, please?
BBC's. It's a non bricks and mortar digital only bank.
It's a challenger bank, Steve, that creates
I don't know what challenger bank means.
It means
It's not
it's
really
a
a
digital bank that doesn't have any offices. A bit like E-Trade.
What do you mean like crypto?
No, it's proper.
No.
It's regular money.
So easy.
It's
So
regular money.
there.
So what?
So softball.
Yeah, how's your NFT doing?
Okay,
I don't
now-
have an NFT. Do you?
Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Now I'm realizing that was not a serious question about Revolut. I'm trying to give a serious answer, and you're all making jokes.
That's
Well, it's pretty
the
easy
risk
to
you
make
take
jokes.
when you
look-
post on Revolut.
No, but so Revolut is the first way that you can change money from currency A to currency B when you travel without paying an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
It gives you a credit card that you can use in native currency everywhere in the world without paying some middleman foreign exchange fees.
As far as you know, until they sell it. And which-
No, that all of that's right, Keith. But there's been a lot of problems with people who have had issues with Revolut that can't get anyone to talk to about it. That's
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Because
it's
it's-
true. Well,
and-
their customer support is a chat within the app, and it does
Yeah.
work. I've had to use it 2 or 3 times. They're slow, but it works.
Well, speaking of which, I'd like to get Substack to have some sort of way of talking to them about minor issues like the one I'm having with its RSS feed and the app with one of the 2 newsletters that I actually pay for, which is Stratechery. It's just disappeared.
Is that what you're calling it now?
No,
Is
that's
it
what we call it.
strategery?
I-
Stratechery?
I agree with Steve's pronunciation.
Well, it's the one that he says.
I like strategic.
Stratechery.
I like.
It's a combination of strategy and tech.
Oh, I just thought it was his refusal to emulate the guy on Saturday Night Live.
Well, it was a W. Bush
Yes, exactly.
Right.
teleprompter to begin with.
That's what it
Strategery. He said strategery.
And I like that. I like being reminded of that. It makes me, it makes me laugh. I want to laugh more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like
X.
this to be in the everything app. Is
Laugh more.
yeah, you push the button and you laugh more.
Ah.
Oh, I like that. Laugh more with Gillmor.
Ooh, oh.
Well,
There was a novelty item a few years ago, a laughing box in a bag. It was
I remember that.
you remember that?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Too. It was more than a few years ago.
I always said Silicon Valley needs to laugh at themselves more. And the town has like no sense of humor at all. You can't understand yourself unless you can like laugh at yourself.
Agreed.
My point.
Someone once said that if it wasn't for well, no, I'm not going to say it because I heard it wasn't
Self-immolation. I have to say, Brent,
No, wait a
I'm
minute.
looking
I want to hear what he was going to say.
No, because you heard it yesterday and you shot it down yesterday. So,
I did not.
Oh.
yeah, you did.
I don't even remember
Oh.
what did you say?
Were you on his show
It's-
yesterday?
I said if it wasn't for self-deprecating humor, I wouldn't be funny at all. And you just said that wasn't funny. So that proved my
I
point.
didn't say that wasn't funny. I
Yes,
said
that is funny. It
And
is
that
funny.
in
It is
itself
funny.
is self-deprecating.
I said you can't rely on the self-deprecating part. It's just funny in general.
Oh.
I was being complimentary, but of course you rejected that.
Paul.
Yes,
Ah.
yeah.
I have to say
No,
one
no,
thing,
Plot
Brent.
channel.
Brent, your shot is so damn good looking. I have to say, it makes everything else on this feed look like subpar. It's
Is it
just,
Scott or is it Brent?
It's so
well,
good.
it may be
It's
Brent.
such a good that the number of bits.
I think
that
it's the
it has-
combo. I think it's the combo.
It's, oh my
It's
God, it's
getting
so,
more
it's
and
so
more
not
now.
Brent. It is.
Because if I had such a camera, it would not be an improvement.
Oh.
Now that's some good self-deprecating humor right there. I like that.
Well, but
It
you
would be
didn't get
funnier when you
Keith's not
said it.
laughing. Keith isn't laughing.
I'm not-
Keith is sinking low. Pick-
No, he's thinking.
I know.
He's thinking.
If anyone
Keith is-
remembers
Keith
Tallulah
is thinking
Bankhead?
about what he was thinking about what you were saying about how there's no humor in Silicon Valley.
Oh, by
Tallulah
the way-
Bankhead.
Tallulah Bankhead once said, they shoot the young starlets through gauze. They have to shoot me through linoleum.
Damn. I was
You have to
watching
remember what linoleum is.
I was watching this documentary on HBO last night and I must be way out of it because I had never heard of this thing. This I think it's called Digital HQ, that game people played on their phones, like this quiz game. Have you
That
guys
the
ever
one
heard?
that was really popular for about 12 minutes and then
Yeah, I remember
the guy was fired and that was it.
And then one of the co-founders like OD'd on heroin or something like that.
Now it's a documentary.
I had never heard of any of this until I watched this documentary. It's pretty interesting. It was on HBO.
HBO, which just fired almost all of its marketing department.
Oh, I guess I should say it's on Max. I don't know. Still-
Max.
or is it X or no? I don't know.
And
Well,
it's-
Okay,
you know-
so we've been watching the reboot of Sex and the City.
Oh, yeah.
any good?
Good.
Yeah. You know, a lot of sex.
A lot of city probably too, right?
Simulated.
A lot of city on. Is Mr. Big in the show?
You're not actually, you know, doing it on screen.
No, but they're
Mm.
trying to look like they're doing it on screen.
That's called acting.
Is it
Has
like
anyone
the,
seen?
Not in this case.
is it the same women? Or is
Anyway,
it-
well,
Yeah,
it's
except for the
roughly the
Kim
same.
Cattrall
She-
refused to participate because of,
She
Good
has
for her.
competed with everybody,
well, no, specifically with the
With-
star.
yeah. They've integrated some new characters, and
Some of them
doing
are
it.
better than the old ones, actually.
they're really going for diversity on the show, which they're doing pretty well. But it's fun, you know. I think we were just like, we were stuck in some place of like, oh, there's just these detective shows, and then there's the, you know, and it was just, I needed
Just
something
face
a
it,
little lighter.
Tina's in it for
Like
the
the
handbags. It's all about the handbags.
Oh, there's a lot of fashion. It is fun.
Do any of you guys watch Physical?
No, we
But
canceled it.
It's got better. They're in season 3 now. No, we stopped watching it halfway through season 1, and we got to a point where we picked it back up, and it got way better.
Oh,
It's kind of the Jane Fonda era with business and competition and relationship stuff. It's quite good.
Has
Okay,
anyone
well, I
seen Pain?
won't be-
Have you
I
seen?
won't be
How about
picking it back up.
Painkiller? Anyone seen that one?
No, what is that?
wow.
So it's about
Sackler.
it's about that drug company. Yeah,
Sackler.
yeah, and it's not the same as the other one. I haven't seen it. I just know it's supposed to be good. I've been reading a lot about it, and so I'm tempted to go start watching it as soon as we're done here.
Well,
I've
now
seen-
that TV is over, we'll have plenty of time to try and find a good show.
Okay, Frank, you bring up something. Do you have to do some research and to take on a new show, to try a new show?
No.
Or what, can you just get a recommendation from someone and you're there?
Yeah, usually I'm just surfing around and I find something and I'll watch it. And if it doesn't hit me like within the first 10 or 15 seconds, I'll just move on to another one.
10 or 15 seconds.
Exactly. Haven't you ever heard of put the needle down, and if it doesn't grab you right away, throw the record into the bin and find another one? That's
What's
kind of
a-
what
Frank, what's a record?
I'm so tempted to go and buy an old school vinyl stereo. I'm this close to.
I've got one.
Such a
I just don't have
and I hardly ever put a vinyl record on it.
I just don't have any place to keep the records, but I just.
Which one to get?
Oh, so see, there you go. I'm so tempted to do that. Imagine, Brent, do you have one?
Oh,
I still have my DJ equipment, and I literally just pre-ordered this newly found John Coltrane with Eric Dolphy live at the Village Vanguard in an orange vinyl.
Oh my God. Oh, that's obviously got to be a reissue.
No, it's one that they had never put out before, apparently.
Newly discovered tapes.
Yeah.
Colored
Wow.
vinyl was the normal thing back then.
Yeah. Well,
Vinyl
except
discovered colors before Apple.
well, yeah, but now there's an awful lot of people who are reissuing stuff, and their stuff is now coming out in colors like it would have if it had. I just read that, and it's funny that you talk about because there's somebody was talking about the Miles Davis sessions with Coltrane and I think it was the Blue sessions, and I said,
Kinda
oh my
Blue.
God, I kind of blue, and I just love to get that on vinyl. I would, if I got a really pristine
do
copy
have
of that
it
on
on
vinyl, I would go and buy a turntable and an amplifier.
Talk about hallucinations.
Yeah.
Yesterday was the anniversary of
Such a
the release
scam.
of Kind of Blue.
That's why people were
So
talking
it's
about it
64
yesterday.
years? Or, yeah, 64,
1959.
59.
Yeah.
Do you know
So
that,
I
that
know
all those guys were all paid scale for those sessions?
oh.
He must be working for scale. There's something fishy about
Wait a
that.
minute, Coltrane was paid scale?
Yeah,
We could all go down to the fish market and work
I
for
could kind of see
scale.
Cannonball. But I
I,
can't see Coltrane.
they,
And again, he was just coming out
they
of his
did not
habit.
have a
So
percentage of the record.
yeah,
that
that's
way.
pretty rough.
Yeah, but
But
you know,
that's
at
okay.
least they did it.
Yeah, but that's okay because that same year Coltrane put out Giant Steps. So
Yeah.
Ugh.
And they,
Oh,
they made the
God.
greatest record ever made. So I think they came out well on the bargain.
yeah, I think so.
The old do it for the exposure argument.
Who's listened to Chrome Dreams? Who knows what Chrome Dreams is?
Rome.
I know what-
Unfortunately, I do.
It's hopefully my Chrome browser doesn't crash because it kind of eats up a lot of resources. So that's my Chrome dream. But
It's
Okay, so
Neil
you've got-
Young's Forgotten Music that they just released.
Oh,
It's actually pretty good from what I heard of
who
it.
is it? Who?
Neil Young.
Neil Young prepared this album for release in 1974 and decided not to release it. It has been around in bootleg copies. I have a friend who's had it for years, but now it's officially out.
Has anyone heard the AI Paul McCartney release?
No,
yeah.
I won't be queuing.
You're not going to give it a shot?
Is it out?
Absolutely not. Real.
I've
real-
heard
yes.
that it is out. I just haven't heard it. I
Really like Paul McCartney.
No,
I don't get
I
it.
like Paul McCartney just fine, thank you. I just don't like somebody's AI version of Paul McCartney not singing something.
I hate the Paul McCartney that I believe is real through all of the media, but the real Paul McCartney is actually a bit nicer than that one.
actually, he is a nice guy.
I try and unpack that,
Oh,
but
Frank is
I don't-
there. Come on.
That's
Frank.
right.
I have, and I
Autograph.
interviewed him, but we actually ran into each other in the lounge at an airport. I guess I want to say it was in Nice, and he was there with his family, and he just was so nice to Vita. It was crazy. I said, "Hey, how are you?" I remember that interview we did like 22 years ago. And Vita said, you talked to my husband during an interview. The next thing you know, I'm walking away and she's hanging there with him and his kids. He was just very nice. He's just a very nice guy and approachable and all that. So
Oh,
Did you have to call him sir?
I don't think I cared at that point, because now being a British citizen, I would, yes.
Oh.
I would say, sir. Kind of like everyone says to Trump, sir,
Sure.
sir, with tears in my eyes.
Okay, we got time for one more thing to get bored with.
Oh, the effort on the part of the reality stars to unionize. I find that kind of interesting.
What's going on?
Yeah, and it's being led by one of the Real Housewives from I want to say New Jersey, but it's probably New York. It's Bethany Frankel. Is making an effort to unionize the reality stars, and it's actually getting some traction.
That's a bit like imagine all of our wives, those of you who have them unionizing against us. That's a scary moment, right?
Yeah, I'm not down.
No, I honestly, I wouldn't take it that far, but I just think that I find it interesting. I also heard that there was actually some movement on the part of the Writers Guild with the studios. I don't think the Actors Guild.
Where did you hear that?
I read it about 10 minutes before we went on the air. It was Variety or The Wrap, one of those rags, and it appears that they're now going back for a fourth round of discussion. So the Writers Guild is having some movement, but SAG-AFTRA apparently isn't yet. So
Yeah, but they'll be pressured once the other one settles.
Well, I would have thought that the fact that the Directors Guild settled before everybody, that might have helped to pressure the other two, but it didn't. And I just think that there's about a year's worth of content that's sitting that is domestic content, and once that gets eaten up, it'll take a while for the pipeline to get refilled. And I think it's going to say a lot for productions being made here in the UK and in other countries.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming out of other countries. And if you just watch what that Netflix seems to have has the corner on that market, and some of the stuff that I'm seeing from other countries on Netflix is pretty good.
I agree. Netflix has incredible stuff from other countries. They're doing very well with it.
Yeah, I think that's a
This
good bet.
concept of other countries is we realize that only Americans use that phrase.
Yeah.
Well, but I am still an American. I'm a dual citizen now, so
Wait,
how's
and
that
your point is?
revolution going, right?
Well,
Which
the
one?
rest of the world just thinks about the world. So the concept of other countries.
You're absolutely right. It's so funny that you say that.
All right. So raise your hand if you know the Prime Minister of England's name. I don't.
Well,
Really?
he's from another country as far as you're concerned.
Isn't it
Oh,
Thatcher?
well.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
Rishi Sunak.
Okay.
Do you know the king's name?
Chamberlain, right?
Yeah, Chamberlain.
There was a quiz show.
Will.
There was a quiz show on Talk Radio yesterday. The question was, which British Prime Minister is responsible for the foundation of the NHS? And the hosts were two Brits. And they were saying, well, that must be at least 30 years ago. They had no clue. They're British. And
What
What
is
the hell is
NHS?
NHS? Is it hockey?
National Health Service?
Oh my God, the NHS is the great.
National Health
That's the reason to live here. Or one of them.
Like health insurance related or something?
The correct answer was Clement Attlee after World War II. It was the first Labour government ever. And
Didn't they go right back to Chamberlain after that?
No.
Well, they had that other guy, Anthony Eaton, in there before a little bit.
He was one, yeah. Anyway, Clement Attlee created the NHS, and I knew the answer. I was driving along, I was screaming at the radio.
Yeah,
You idiots!
because that works.
Do a whole other show on why they went away from Chamberlain and went to Attlee right after World War II.
Well, Chamberlain was the guy who waved the paper saying he's got peace with Hitler.
No, that was no, Chamberlain was the
that
guy.
was Chamberlain.
Oh, Neville. Yeah, I'm thinking of the other guy.
Neville
Churchill.
Chamberlain. You're thinking
Yeah,
of
I'm thinking
Aaron
of
Neville.
Churchill.
You're thinking of Aaron
Aaron
Neville.
Neville. No, I know Chamberlain was Mr. Appeasement or something like that.
I have this piece.
He still has it, by the way.
Yeah, he's got a piece of something. Piece of dirt.
Okay,
Well,
what's on the table? Last thoughts, Keith.
Everything's wonderful in the world. Only good things are going to happen from now on.
Wow.
Yeah, just don't read Keith's newsletter this week.
You're just trying to manifest lovely
Yeah,
life here.
He's trying to be optimistic.
Exactly. It's a
Not on the
struggle.
newsletter.
It's a struggle.
Okay, Tina.
No. Go elsewhere.
Tina.
Steve.
No, I'm the
I don't,
You're
So
the
weird,
what?
'cause
Wait a
my
minute.
screen,
What
you
were you
guys-
getting ready to say? You're the what, Steve? What were you getting ready to say?
You're the tops.
did you reveal what you didn't want to talk about earlier?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
I am
actually.
kind of looking forward to the Republican debate, and I'm still not 100% sure that Trump won't show up, but I think he won't.
I'm 100% sure he won't
He
show.
just announced he wasn't going. So
Well, then now I'm sure.
He's
Yeah, maybe that could be a lie.
no,
Because he always tells the truth, Brent.
he's not going, and he has the kind of the coolest setup for not going. Let's face it, if he doesn't go, the ratings are going to be like pretty bad. So he'll be able to talk about that. See, I didn't show up, and look at those terrible ratings. They got nobody. So anything that's said at that thing, any Christie thing that might be kind of a cool one-liner, he's
No,
just going to top that because he's just
I
like,
disagree.
and how many people watch that?
I think
they
it's going to be super interesting.
and I think they will.
I
have
don't
decent
care
ratings.
whether Trump shows up.
Yeah.
Trump is going to be a huge
He's
presence
going to
there,
diffuse
whether
that
he's
whole thing.
physically there or not.
He's
Yeah.
gonna throw water all over that in like
Yeah,
2
but
minutes.
he's running out of water.
The thing is,
So wait a minute. If I were producing this program that he's going to be online with Tucker Carlson, I would have the two of them sitting there watching the debate.
That's how
and
they do
talking
it.
about it.
That and they'll get better ratings than the actual
Now,
debate.
if they do that,
But
if they
who's
do
going to
that,
get better ratings? Look, I watch Fox News now religiously.
well, it's in the
They're gonna
corner
get
right
that
there,
in my corner. That's right.
right over there.
You watch that for like 5 minutes and you realize, oh, that's what they do. And then you go on with your life and
Yeah.
you don't worry about it so much.
it is kind of interesting to see, what other networks are showing, like at a certain time, like, there's sometimes three of them are totally in sync, and then Fox is just like ignoring it. I
It's-
find that kind of interesting. So
it's just like being in the control room of any news network. You're in the control room and all of them have all the shows up at the same time over here, and they're all watching them. And a lot of times someone will make will scream out, "Hey, they've got such and such. Why aren't we on that shot?" And boom, you take that shot and you'll find them dragging back and forth. Mostly it's not with Fox if that's sort of the example. It's not like any one of the other networks other than maybe Newsmax and OAN. And I don't think you have either of those two up there in your quad split.
No, unfortunately, they haven't yet allowed us to be able to configure it, because I'd like to put CNBC on instead of the BBC. I don't really care what the BBC thinks about any of this. I just compared to CNBC.
I thought you were going to slap him and hit him on the top of the head or
I
something.
tried that.
Yeah.
There's
That would
nothing.
be kind of funny.
What?
Boink.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to boop you.
Okay. So Michael, any last thoughts?
I don't know if I've mentioned it before, and if I have, I think it's worth another mention. I recently came across the best podcast in the universe, which is A History of Rock Music in 500 Songs by Andrew Hickey, who is
I like him.
he's an old school fan, knows everything, and he tells this story. He set out a project to pick 500 songs. He was planning to do it in 5 years, but it's not possible. It's now going to be a 10-year or 20-year project.
Jesus.
He starts in 1938 with the Benny Goodman Sextet and goes year by year. I haven't seen anyone else cover music so comprehensively, not only talking about the musicians, but the managers and the producers and the record studios and the cultural context and the racial context and the gender context, year by year, song by song. Even when he's talking about things that I think I know, he uncovers connections and details that I would never have put together. I recommend it. The early episodes are about 25 or 30 minutes each, but lately they've been stretching out to 2 hours, and the one he did on the Grateful Dead is over 3 hours, so it's a long time to get through it.
Are you kidding me?
chronological, he's going year by year.
He's going approximately year by year. Sometimes, for the sake of storytelling, he will switch up things a little bit. But one of the curious things is he's very conscious about the early origins of musicians and bands, and characters show up years before they become famous. He'll mention by and by that say Rod Stewart sat in with this group, or Rod Stewart auditioned for this group but didn't make it. And so you find these characters whose names you recognize, but aren't part of the story, but just get hinted at. He has
What's the name of it again?
a history. Just look up 500 songs, you'll find it. It's a history of rock music in 500 songs. He's currently in the late 60s. He has great stuff on the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Frank Zappa. Everybody, Motown, and he is not only talking about it, but he plays clips. And he's not only playing clips, but every 50 shows, he puts them out as a book. And he has a great website if you want to have the transcripts or you want to see the references. He is incredibly conscientious and incredibly accurate. People, except for places where there's disputed memories, he pretty much nails everything.
So I posted a thing on Facebook, and I think I put it in my newsletter also. There was a video blogger named Dara Starr Tucker who did a fairly comprehensive piece on who invented rock and roll, and it's historically, it goes back to the bands and the music in the early 20s, 30s, and 40s. It talks about all the different influences, and it certainly wasn't Elvis, and it probably was more likely to be someone like Little Richard as you got newer. But it's an interesting thing. It's certainly not as deep as the one you're talking about, Michael, but it was really interesting. And also I found a really incredible recording of God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, which I posted the other day, which got an awful lot of hits, and it's really worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, Hickey, when he starts out with the Benny Goodman Sextet, points out that he basically has the early rock and roll band there. He's got an electric guitar, he's got a saxophone, he's got drums and piano, and one of the things you follow year by year is how influences from country music and gospel music and R&B all come into play.
You get a taste of that in the short piece that I posted also, but it's certainly, like I said, it's not as deep as that. But if you don't have the time to watch something that's really deep, this one's not bad.
Well, one other thing about Hickey is he always ends his episodes with a great kicker, a great button. He's a careful writer, and he writes to an end.
Didn't he write for Rolling Stone? I want to.
He may have. He's been a participant in a lot of fandoms. He's been online. He's written many books. He's a great fan of the Monkees. He's written books that analyze every single track the Monkees made. He's done a similar thing for the Beach Boys. His depth of knowledge is incredible.
I saw one of the Monkees perform at the Palladium about a month ago. Isn't there only one that's still around?
Yeah,
Mickey Dolenz. I see he performed with this superstar band. He was good. He can't really sing, but he was good.
How old is he?
He's got to be late 70s at the youngest, I would think. There wasn't anybody on stage that was a headliner at this show I saw that was any younger than 70.
Oh.
But they're contemporaries of mine.
Lost the butt.
Brent, last thoughts?
None.
None.
Pre-season's coming, Brent. You must have some thoughts about that.
About what?
Pre-season.
Football, American football.
It's not going to be a good year for me. So
What about the I was hearing any talk in Georgia about the charges and what people are thinking about it? Do they feel like it's too far reaching? Are they excited? Are they like, hey, Georgia?
They are extremely excited and saying, hey, Georgia, or yay, Georgia, because it's college football season coming around and the Dogs could three-peat. So total excitement.
Okay.
I don't think that's what she was talking about.
That's what the excitement is about here. It's about
right.
college football, SEC.
That's you said a mouthful. Okay.
All right. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.